people asked me even last night, will you denounce white supremacy? We live in a moment where, don't forget, a lot of the left has defined white supremacy to include things like punctuality or the written word. This is just as of a couple of years ago. Even many in the DEI Academy, in academia and otherwise, have said concepts like this are vestiges of white supremacy. These words have ceased to mean anything. And so if somebody wants to define white supremacy for me, then we can actually have a serious conversation about it. But until then, I think a lot of this is actually a charade.
What's going on, guys? Hey, I want to come back to it. I wanted to bring you a story about Vivek R talking to an NBC reporter. And they're talking about white supremacy. But he said, if you want to have a conversation, you're going to have to really define what white supremacy is. Because again, man, that's a term that they love to, the mainstream media loves to spread around. But again, they don't really lock on to what white supremacy is. You know, again, man, in this country, we have full equality under the law, which is all you can ever have. And again, you can point and say, well, the reason why black people don't make it as good as white people do, they don't have the income or whatever on average that white people have, that's because of white supremacy. But again, they don't talk about how Asian people, how Indian people have higher incomes than whites. They don't talk about that kind of stuff. And again, that does not fit their narrative. That's what the issue is, man. They don't want to talk about how Asian people on the whole make more money than white people on the whole. But again, they love to kind of throw white supremacy around. And again, man, they don't like to talk about things like how black people, majority of black people came from black families. 70 or 72% came from single mother households. And again, man, we do know for an absolute fact that majority of prisoners, they came from single mother households. We understand that. So again, man, I'm not trying to talk bad about single mothers and put everything on them. I'm not doing that, but we do have to understand there is a real big problem. But again, they don't want you looking that way. They don't want you looking into anything else except white supremacy. But guys, man, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
Let's talk about what white supremacy and what happened last night for a moment, because when you were talking to reporters last night, you called white supremacy a myth. When someone asked you about Dylan Roof, you said you didn't know who that is. Have you looked up what happened in 2015?
Yeah, look, I said this last night. Invidious racial discrimination is wrong no matter how it happens. But if a Washington Post reporter is asking me almost like a catechism, whatever question I said, I'm against invidious racial discrimination, whatever form it takes, but says, do you denounce white supremacy? It's incumbent on us for us to define what white supremacy is. And I wrote my book, Woke Inc., and I've written about the detailed understanding of what the popular understanding of these terms have come to mean. Do you believe punctuality is a vestige of white supremacy, Dasha?
Look,
because if you don't, then you have a disagreement about many of the people who are defining those terms, or the written word, or the use, or the nuclear family. These aren't my words. These are the words of intellectual proponents from Ibram Kendi to the Ayanna Presleys to BLM that have said these are vestiges of white supremacy. So, you
know, guys, man, I don't want to put words in Vivek's mouth, but I do believe what he's saying is that you can say anything is white supremacy, anything at all. You can blame white supremacy for whatever. And, you know, it wouldn't be true, but you could say the white supremacy is the reason why, you know, whatever happened. So again, we had to define it. We had to define what it means because, again, people say that, you know, punctuality, being on time is white supremacy. Come on, guys, man, it's not. You know, it's just being responsible. Being responsible is white. You know, having a mother and a father in the home is, again, white supremacy.
Do you believe punctuality is a vestige of white supremacy, Dasha?
Look,
because if you don't, then you have a disagreement about many of the people who are defining those terms, or the written word, or the use, or the nuclear family. These these aren't my words. These are the words of intellectual proponents from Ibram Kendi to the Ayanna Presleys to BLM that have said these are vestiges of white supremacy. So
Mr.
we can't have it both ways.
What you do, though,
we have to have an
choose,
honest discussion.
Straw man arguments.
Last night
you brought up Jussie Smollett as the best
Jussie
example
Smollett
of white
was the hottest thing in news in the back of a fake actual attack on him that we have to contend with.
And yet you have examples like the Buffalo shooter in New York just in 2022.
You have other examples.
But you are also cherry picking when you bring up Jussie Smollett.
I'll look at all of the statistics. More black on black crime. If you really care about actual crime against black Americans, let's get to the root causes of it in the inner cities of this country.
The Anti-Defamation League tracked a 38% increase in white supremacist propaganda last year.
Who's tracking that?
The Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah, the ADL, I don't think is a particularly credible source when they have a cherry-picked information.
When we're talking about
I would suggest look at there's a table, 2x2 table. Federal law enforcement data, which you could say what you do. Maybe we shouldn't believe that either. But look at black on Asian crime, black on black crime,
the FBI
hate
crime statistics. That's a law enforcement agency. 59.1% was based on race, ethnicity, and ancestry, saying hate crimes rose 12% between 2020 and 2021.
Look at the absolute crimes themselves. What they classify as a hate crime is itself a political judgment. I think that when you actually care about protecting life, if you want to say Black Lives Matter, let's look at where black lives are actually being lost.
You know what, guys, man, I agree with Vivek. I do. The fact of the matter is, man, the majority of violent crime in this country is committed by black people. You know, again, less than 13% of the population commits more than half of all violent crime in this country. Again, you can say whatever you want. You can say, well, the ADL says whatever. But again, man, the ADL is not a non-biased source of information. And again, they're giving you their opinion on something. But again, you look at the actual numbers. I mean, we have got to understand the majority of black people that are killed by other black people. So again, man, the majority of black people are shot by black people. The majority of white people shot or assaulted or whatever. Again, white people, I believe, again, are by white people, but you're 8 times more likely to be attacked, to be assaulted by a black person if you're white than by a white person if you're black. So again, we do have to understand, you know, the numbers, they don't say what they're trying to tell you. They're trying to tell you white supremacy is a problem. No. Again, you're much more likely to be attacked by a black person if you're white than by a white person if you're black. And again, you can say whatever. But again, less than 13% of the population commits more than half of all violent crime in this country. We got to be honest about that stuff. Again, you can say whatever you want to say, but that is something we truly have to look at. So again, man, stop taking the opinions of whatever group and actually look at the actual data. What it's saying to you.
Protecting life. If you want to say Black Lives Matter, let's look at where black lives are actually being lost. It's in the cities, at the heart of other black Americans and criminals that are restrained by the absence
that we talk about as well. But are we supposed to ignore white supremacist hate crimes?
We're not supposed to ignore any kind of crime, Dasha. That's what I say. But what I see is a selective reporting. Take the Nashville Transgender Shooter Manifesto. Every shooter manifesto in a mass shooting has been released within 48 hours, except for that one shooter in Nashville. Now, it ended up being leaked. What do you see? It wasn't a white supremacist. It was somebody that was actually making fun of using derogatory terms. I believe.
Okay, so why are you okay talking about that manifesto and not talking about the manifesto from the 2015?
I'm more than okay talking about both. But what I'm asking is, why is the mainstream media suppress that one? Why did the police suppress that one? Why was that the one shooter manifesto that of all of the mass shootings, every other shooter manifesto has been released? I'm focused on that one because that's the one that's been hidden from us. And it comes back to the point of my candidacy and the way I'm going to run this country. Trust the people with the truth.
Guys, we have truly got to understand right now, the media, they like to cover certain things up. They do. Man, certain things they like to cover up. And they like to promote other things. You know, again, man, 45 minutes up the road from where I live last year, a young 6-year-old white girl kicked her ball over into a black man's yard. The black man got mad. There were some words exchanged between the little girl and him and the father of the girl and him. And he took out his gun, shot the white girl in the face, and shot the father who was trying to protect his daughter several times. Again, the girl and the father lived, but the black man said, "I don't even like white people." And nobody said a word. That was not covered in the national news. There was nothing, no big deal made about that. And we truly have to understand, guys, man, that is, I would call a hate crime. You're saying you don't like people because of the color of their skin, and then you shoot them. But again, right around the same time last year, an older white man shot a black teen for ringing his doorbell. And that's all you heard about. That's all you heard about. And again, nobody knows why the old man shot him. Nobody knows whether or not the old man has dementia or whatever, man. We don't know if it had anything to do with race. We don't. But again, they fan those flames, but there's no word about the other. Back a year, 18 months ago, whatever it was, there was another shooting down in Louisiana. 2 young black men were looking to kill a white man. They actually went out and went to hunt a white man. They found one, of course. They shot and killed him. And his nickname was Peanut. I did a story about this about a year ago. And again, nobody said a damn word. Nobody. And again, that was not something that was talked about. You can look this stuff up for yourself. You can verify it for yourself. I did stories on this stuff last year. Again, man, I think in Oklahoma, there was last year, a middle-aged black man was looking to kill white men. So he went to a gas station, I believe, shot and killed a white man. Then he went to I believe, a post office, shot and killed a white man. And again, man, there's no big national coverage about this. Nobody's saying, hey, look, there are black people out there attacking white people. Nobody says this kind of stuff. So again, man, we have to really, truly be honest about what's happening. And again, by the numbers, what's happening. Again, majority of violent crime in this country is done by black people, by mostly black men. And we have to be honest about that. We also have to be honest about, again, you're much more likely to be attacked by a black person if you're white than by a white person if you're black. But again, they don't want you focusing on that kind of stuff because a certain agenda is being pushed. But guys, man, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.
You son of a